All right, so if you all are in here, you are in the distribution panel, which is when is the right time to move to a distribution, if at all. So right, you're in the right place. Let me introduce our two panelists. First, Marc Schulz is co-owner and director of sales of Prison City Brewing. His career in beer started as a server at the Shed in Stowe, Vermont in 1994, which led him to the Lake Placid Pub and Brewery in 1995 as a jack of all trades but master of none. That's his words. From there, he spent 25 years doing sales at the retail level, distributor level, and brewery level. In summary, he's worked in all three tiers for nearly 3 decades, and yet he's still jack of all trade and master of none. So that's his words. That's the bio that I got.
Progressive.
Yeah. If you don't know, this is Fred Matt. He is the president and CEO of FX Matt Brewing Company, the oldest brewery in the state of New York and the third oldest brewery in the United States.
Oldest brewery owner.
Not the founder, but Fred is actually the 4th generation of the Matt family to serve in the company. Fred has successfully rebuilt its sales and marketing organization to support the growth of the company brands and overseen a $56 million investment project, including an addition to a new brewhouse, tank farm, and a second can line. In addition to his many contributions, Fred serves on the New York State Brewers Association board. He's also on the Brewers Association board, and now he's on the Beer Institute board, and a past president of ours. So there you have it. So distributions, funny thing. So I want to start with a little story of a phone call that I got yesterday, which should set this up nicely. So this guy calls me, and he says, I need help. You can help me out. He's definitely from the city. And I said, well, what do you need? He said, we want a contract brew. We're going to contract brew. And what we want to do is we're going to develop, we got these great brands, and we're just going to start distributing in the Northeast at first, right? We're just going to cover the Northeast with a couple of brands, and then we're going to kind of move out. And I'm listening to him, and I'm like, so you're going to own a brewery? He's like, no, we don't want to. We're just idea guys. We're just going to distribute beer. And he had no clue whatsoever what was behind it, but he was an idea guy. And believe it or not, we get a lot of calls like that. It's like, oh, we're just going to make a beer. Distributors are going to distribute my beer. We're going to start small in the Northeast, and then we're going to go out. How can you help me with this, right? And so we had a long conversation after that. So I just wanted to share that story with you because it was a pretty common story early on that people think distributors sell your beer, right? You just have a good beer and they'll sell it over the Northeast.
It's easy.
So yeah, so I'm going to hand it off to you now to start talking about it.
Well, that's a great segue to not know how to lead into this at all. Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Do I need the microphone? Fred probably might. I'm not sure. He's a little bit older than I. Dave Kadaleski so kindly pointed out. So listen, I think, how many people have been in this room with Fred and I last year or the year before?
2 years ago, so it was on Zoom, wasn't it?
To whatever it was. So only a few of you. So it's an interesting topic, right? And I'll lead with this. In my experience throughout all of my beer history, I've always been in sales, and there's always this kind of combative nature that happens between brewer and sales guy, where for some reason beyond my comprehension, sales is a dirty word. Like, nobody likes to talk about sales. Well, why the fuck did you open a brewery? To sell beer, right? All right, so let's just, kind of go down that road first of all. More importantly, if you're in this room and you sell beer in New York State and you're thinking about distribution, you're thinking about signing with a distributor, my first question is, why? This association is so strong, it's given you the opportunity to go out there and sell it yourself, to buy a van, buy a truck, whatever it is, go sell it, retain that full margin. So if you're in this room, and I've already answered that question, you should do it yourself, or as long as you can, as long as you can. If you're here because you've reached a critical point that you want to sign with a distributor, I'll repeat my first question. Why? Are you at that tipping point? Is it just too hard? What is it? Why are you here? So someone raise a hand. Why are you here? Why do you want to talk about distribution? Go ahead.
To make money in the slow season.
Nice. What else?
Considering getting into other markets other than what we're currently in.
Okay, good.
Getting into the right distribution.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, there are different ways of distributing. and
Yep.
self-distribution,
Yep.
going with the distributor.
Figuring out what's right for the brand at the right time. Okay, yeah.
To avoid hiring and increasing their own level of brand.
All right, so good. So there's a lot of reasons for it, right? So if you've been in this room in the past, you've heard me say something that seems to resonate, and it kind of upsets me, to use a word from Bill Burr comedy skit, where you heard what I said, but you weren't listening. Because you've heard me say all distributors suck, and then you shut off there. What you didn't hear is, no, they don't. They've been around for a lot longer than we have. They've been doing it for decades, for centuries, frankly. They're good. Is it good for you? That's really what we're here to talk about. I feel like I've kind of pontificated enough. Fred, do you want to jump in here? Or I could just keep going. This is trains rolling, buddy.
I think Marc's doing a great job personally. Just give you a little history of us. We as a brewery owned 18 beer distributorships at one time. So we're in New York. We owned a distributorship in Manhattan, DeCrescente's area. All these were bought by Manhattan Beer, DeCrescente, Wright Wisner, McCrae. And if you took our 18 beer distributorships today, it'd be $1 billion business. So let's start with I fucked up. What I would tell you is Marc is dead on no one's going to sell your beer as well as you sell your beer. And I think you really ought to think about that before you go to the distributor. And I know Kim's here from Sheehan. I would tell you that I've had my routes with Sheehan. Sheehan is a good distributor. And here's what I tell you too, is there's a difference between a good distributor and a bad distributor. It's a hot brand. If you have a hot brand and you've developed it and cultivated it, a distributor can do a really good job of it. But if you just throw it into a distributorship and expect them to sell it, they have 1,800, 2,000 SKUs. And what's happening is that, like with labor costs going up, they're having a harder time getting people. They're not as qualified, they're not as skilled, and it's a harder way to go. So to flip back to what Marc said, if you are thinking about, one, sell your own beer and sell it as long as you can, you're building equity because those rights are worth something. And a distributor will pay you for those rights. And I will tell you, I consulted for anybody who's in questions, I'm more than happy to help. I worked with a guy probably 10 hours on his distribution rights with a distributor, which will go unnamed, he'll go unnamed. I'll tell you, he would call me up, he goes, they're not gonna give me anything. I'm like, fuck them then. He held out, he got 7 times gross. And you just wanna make sure that you are getting what you deserve. And now, so he's gone and his business is way up, and he created a nice little brand. He got paid, and now his business is up. Somebody else said in here, I just wanted to come back to this. Distribution, do not go a mile wide and an inch deep. Go deep on distribution. It may be appealing, if you're in Buffalo, may be appealing to go to Rochester. Stay in Buffalo and just go deep. Be local, own that local market. And you're not gonna get that many more cases going out. It's a diversion. Just stay focused, stay concentrated, and really, really go deep.
Yeah, so I think that's a great point, and I think a big theme of the meeting is, when is the right time? And I think part of the right time, there are a lot of factors that go into that. Are you self-distributing and you've reached critical mass? And by critical mass is like you've exhausted your own resources. Like I said I would never sign with a distributor. Again, that's what people heard, but what they weren't listening, because what I said, until I need to. And we got to the point where we were distributing enough where it was like, do I hire another salesperson and another driver and buy another van and invest that money, or do I hand it off? And it made sense for our brand to hand it off. Now there are other factors that are involved. When we first opened our production facility, it was because we couldn't keep up with what was happening at the pub and we needed more beer. We thought people were gonna line up and just keep buying beer, and then COVID stepped in and said, the fuck you are. Everything changed, and everything changed for every one of our businesses in this room. It changed everything. Beer was being distributed all over the state, the Equilibriums, the other halves, everybody was distributing beer. They were direct shipping beer, and again, that's all thank you to our very strong Brewers Association. everything just changed. We didn't need a kitchen at our tap room. Now we need a kitchen. Everything changed. I'll also say that, to Fred's point, in my experience, I can tell you that if you make beer in Buffalo, you're going to sell a piss pile of beer in Buffalo. You're probably not going to sell much in Rochester or Syracuse. And the further you go away from home, the less you're going to sell. And I saw it with Middle Ages. I got in this argument with Dan Nothnagel from Three Heads for years when I was at Sheehan. Like, why don't I sell more beer? He sold a piss pile of beer in Rochester, but he doesn't sell anything in Syracuse or Buffalo. It just, for some reason, New York's this weird state, right? Where you sell your beer in your backyard, and the further away you get from home, with the exception of potentially New York City. New York City, everything's local. If it's brewed in New York, it's local. I can't explain it. I don't have facts to back it up. My name's not Bart Watson. My name's Marc Schulz. But I can tell you from experience that that is a reality. That is. So, you know, self-distribute as much as you can. And I've actually had a lot of conversations already this week with people like, we're thinking about hiring a salesperson. Like, when's the right time to hire that person? Well, are you ready to invest $30,000 to $50,000 to hire a salesperson? Because you can hire someone for less, but you get what you pay for. You know, you should hire someone with experience, someone that's going to go out there and hustle. You can change the color of money and add incentives and things like that. But it all comes down to dollars and cents. What's the best thing for your brewery right now, 5 years, 10 years? What is it? I could sit here and preach. I don't think either one of us want to do that.
Yeah.
So whatever questions, raise them. This is the time to talk about it.
So wait, I got one other comment. Everybody always wants what they don't have, me included. But the calls I get, and I wish people would listen, is I always used to say $5 a pint is a lot better than $5 a case. And everybody wants to distribute outside of their tap rooms or their core area. And here's what I'm going to tell you. All those people leaning over the bar, I'll buy your beer, I'll buy your beer. In today's world that evokes sets like this, they may buy it once, they may buy it twice. You're putting a shitload of money, capital, into equipment. I can't tell you how many calls I get. I won't name names. It's sad because the debt is double what the company's worth, and I personally will not buy people and gut them. I'm not going to take someone's company just for my benefit. And it's really sad to see what people have done is and the next comment is, well, if my projections held up, don't build your business on fucking projections. It's your business is your business, and here's what I'm saying. Build your tap room, get people coming into your tap room, get them to buy beer when they leave. And that way you're making all the margin. And if at some point you then want to do some sprinkling in the market on your terms, do it. But to me, the best thing you can do, and let's take Treehouse as an example, probably the best model out there, they are fucking crushing it.
It's only $52 million a year.
Right.
Is that really crushing?
Exactly.
I don't know.
What I would tell you is that, I can make 40, 50% off our lines in Utica when I sell beer at $22. When I'm in Buffalo at our Flying Bison Brewery, I'm making $2.
Right.
It's fucking miserable. I can't make money out there. And the only way I can make money is if I put product out at a higher cost. In this market, people don't want that. So I better get people coming into the tap room and charging them $7, $7, $7, $7. That's how you'll make money.
Yeah, agreed. And feeling like a hypocrite sitting here saying I never wanted to distribute beer, it just became a necessary evil where, like I said, we either hire more people and add more to our bottom line. And in doing so, what I did is I handed over the brand and gave up a shit ton of margin. So to Fred's point, we're trying to drive people to the tap rooms, but in our scenario, the pandemic and the way the beer business changed, it changed the way we were doing things. So we could have kept going, and I probably could have dove deeper on that self-distribution model, but it was frankly getting exhausting, and it was just the right time for us to hand it over. And to put it in perspective, we did 2,500 barrels last year. We're on pace to do about 5,000 this year. We're in a unique position where we're growing our brewery. Not everyone has that luxury. I get that, but these are just the things you need to look at. Like, continue to drive as much business into your tap room as you possibly can. To Fred's point, sell every pint of can, 4-pack, case of beer, keg of beer as you can. Dan?
So you make the decision to go, okay? What are the most important things to make that work from a logistics standpoint on site? So you can handle the distribution and what's gonna come if you don't know what's coming.
I would say the first thing you should do is call Brendan Palfreyman, who was on this panel with us last year. And listen, you have a responsibility to yourself and your business to protect what you've got going on. And if you're self-distributing, keep solid ass records of what you're doing so that you can be financially compensated for the hard work you've been putting in. From there, you're gonna set realistic expectations. How much beer you're gonna sell, where you're gonna sell it, what are you gonna sell. Have a great conversation with your wholesale partner, because they are now your partner. It is very much a marriage. And you can say, I want to brew this beer, and they're gonna go, we're not gonna sell that. I want to do this. That makes a lot of sense. We need that. I actually have a great enough relationship with this wholesaler, but again, I've been working with them for almost 25 years, where I could say, is there a hole in your portfolio that we could actually make a beer for? Could we make an amber ale that you no longer have that would actually, I could make more money on than I do my popular IPA, because it makes more sense for the brewery and it fits in your portfolio? Like, you can have those conversations. There was a question in the back.
It's more of a statement, but just a second, the Brendan Palfreyman thing. He wrote our initial. I mean, we have too many distributors right now, frankly. Paradox Brewery, but he wrote our initial distribution contract and has gotten us out of jams several times with the contract he provided to us that we've been able to push through to these distributors who sometimes don't give enough of a shit to pull their weight. We were able to go back and say, point to the line items in the contract that he helped us write to say, you did this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this.
Right.
Get out. Give me my
Let
rights
me
back.
just build on that. So we had a lawyer, unfortunately died, this guy Marc Rodman, who was famous for taking down Bud years and years ago as a distributor lawyer. And he always used to say to us that there's one time you can get anything you want from a distributor, and that's when they don't have you.
Mm-hmm.
So when the distributor wants you, make sure you're outlining, how many cases we gonna sell? Okay, we're gonna sell 10,000 cases. What's the marketing budget? And the marketing budget is based on 10,000 cases, not on if I get there. So if it's $10,000 and you're gonna spend $4 a case, it's $40,000 you're putting on my brand, whether I get there or not. And just what I would tell you is that, truth in advertising, we don't use a contract, because Marc Rodman's contract 30 years ago, because I'm the oldest guy here.
I don't think so.
He wanted it to be a fuck you contract, and I just don't believe in that. Contracts ought to be fair and balanced. You are entering a marriage, and so what you want to do is you want to get your distributor partner so they agree with what you want as far as expectations. You're working together. They want to sell cases as much as you. So how do you bring it together? It is good to have a contract today. But what I would tell you, the most important document you have is your agreement on what the sales goals are, what the investment is, and it's locked to that sales goal, and then you've got mile markers you're checking against.
Can I add one thing to that real quick too?
Yes.
It's true, I get a lot of calls, there's a lot of breweries, it's slim margins, hire a lawyer. Like so if I want to go to distribution and they hand you a contract, right?
Yep.
How does it work? And those are fully negotiable, right?
Yes.
But don't do it on
Everything's-
your own. Would your advice be
No,
to do it on your own,
never.
or hire a good
No.
attorney, not a good alcohol attorney, correct?
Yeah, hand it off. Just make sure you're protected. That's it. It's just like anything else, like buying a house. Doesn't matter what big financial thing you're getting into. Hire someone to handle that. The other side of sales, and signing with the distributor is the sales side. Like, who's going to be out there? Who's going to be calling on the distributor? Because, we have this notion that, like, oh, well, Wegmans is my biggest customer, or the Blue Tie.
Yeah.
I need to bring that one up.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy. Shit.
You meant the blue mountain.
Whatever it is my biggest account. No, it's not. In Syracuse, TJ Sheehan's my biggest customer because they buy all of my beer. No, Wegmans doesn't buy my beer. They buy the beer from them. So you got to have a good working relationship. You got to treat them like a customer. But there is this weird thing that happens between. It's been as old as Fred.
Can I
This
just
relationship between the brewer and the distributor, like there's this fight that goes on, but it's a weird thing to me because as a brewer, it's my biggest customer. Why am I constantly fighting with this person? Why don't I have a better relationship going on? Why don't I have a better relationship that makes them want to go out and sell my beer for me?
So can I just want to make sure everybody heard that. Your distributor is your number one customer. And I say that to our sales guys every time, and you hear all the bitching. He or she, whatever, they are your number one customer, okay? So when come into the situation, when they're not happy, seek to understand why they're not happy. It might be a really good reason. So you've got seasonal backups. They're dealing with it. They've dumped a shitload of seasonals. They're pissed. Understand why they're pissed. Maybe you're not the problem. Okay, well then have a conversation that you're not the problem. But really focus on, they are your number one customer and treat them that way.
Oh boy, yeah. Okay. All right, we're gonna go this way back. Yes.
Okay. So does that suppose that you then, like, your balance of kind of retail versus wholesale is tipped in the scale of the wholesale model? Because if the wholesale is your number one customer, then, like, we're doing, right now we're doing 90% of our sales through the captive. So
Yep.
obviously it doesn't make sense to like really go into the distributor side, but we're trying to like grow and switch that a little bit. Like take that scale to then the balance of volume is now going out of this, out of, like, are we?
I mean,
That's the beautiful thing is that's up to you.
yeah.
That you determine how much. Like I want to sell this much beer, but I have this extra. Would you like this extra, Mr. Distributor, or Mrs. Distributor, whatever it is? Would you like that? And if not, then I'll go knock on another door, and or you're self-distributing. And then you find the right partner that understands. Like, listen, I have a great relationship with this distributor where I can actually open 5 more tap rooms in New York State if I want to, and they won't fight me, and I can sell my beer to myself, and they won't fight me. That's unusual, right? That didn't happen 10 years ago. That's unusual. It's a different space now. It's not a safe space. It's not a safe. There's still. I won't call it dirty, but there's still business that needs to happen. They are in the business to make money on your product of beer, and if it makes sense, and they also want the path of least resistance.
But Jason, your position, I mean, if you were only doing 10%, first of all, I go to number one, keep everything in Ken in your tap room.
Yeah.
But if I'm only doing 10%, I might circle 10 off-premise accounts and go to them and say, listen, would you like exclusive rights to sell my beer? And some on-premise accounts, so maybe a total 10 accounts. And you agree with them that they're gonna take a shipment every week, whatever it is.
Yes.
And then you just route it and have it done.
Hey,
And you
Chris
just do it.
DeChico, hey, Tim Langley from
Yeah.
Halftime, whatever it is, you've got an outlet, you're close enough, yeah. There were other hands up, and I want to try and get over here.
What's the margin sacrifice? Is it 50%? Is it
No, it's like 60 to 68.
They take it.
What was it? I didn't hear that.
Percentage
Of what?
margin given up.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't joking.
30, 30, 30.
No, I mean, so let me answer it this way. You ought on your business
Yes.
be trying to make 50% margin plus. Okay? The second you go to a distributor, it's coming down.
Yeah.
So I'd tell you that you're gonna end up with probably, for us, if we're doing in Utica, we can probably keep it in the low 40s. But if we're doing in Buffalo, we're down to 10%. And I'm guessing most of you in the room, going to a distributor and pricing so that you can sell in the market, it's probably close to 10%.
Fred, are you doing,
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dan.
are you marketing out there, so for that? That's including, you're putting marketing effort in there for them?
Sales,
Yeah.
marketing, a little bit.
Yeah. Sales team. Back, there's someone sitting down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the same question as Dan. I mean, you say that your supposedly the distribution helps save on your self-distribution costs and salesmen driving around, but yet you
Right.
still have to service that account. So it almost seems like I'm not sure where it helps, except having more
Well, it
people on the
helps if
street.
you're gonna
But
get
you
into
have to
something
service
like
them.
Wegmans where they require 7-day service. Are you gonna sit in that store 7 days a week and fill their coolers? Yeah, Chris can talk about that, cause Chris does it, yeah.
And
You know, that's,
Your distributor, what I keep doing the last couple of years, we've talked about it, is that their logistics team,
yes,
more than anything else.
yeah,
And you still have to have your own sales your sales department,
yes,
and they're a sales partner.
Yep.
But they're not gonna sell your beer for you, but it certainly is wonderful not to have to walk into Wegmans or 11 Wegmans every day.
every day.
Maybe
And
that's
pack
not
those
a day
coolers
anymore,
out.
But I figured out.
I like to use I think this is my 3rd or 4th year in a row. I like to use this line from my old boss, Jack Davis at TJ Sheehan, who's been in the game for a long time. We don't sell beer, we distribute beer. You sell beer. And by you, I mean us.
You also
We
have to
sell
be
the
able to
beer.
deliver it.
Your packaging, your liquid, your hustle, whatever it is, like they're called a distributor for a reason. Now it's, all right, semantics, right? Because they have salespeople and they go out and sell beer and they have sales goals and all that stuff. But I still like the analogy because they get the beer to the shelf, they get to the beer to the tap. What are we doing to get that shit to pull off the shelf and to get that tap line pulling? You've had your hand up back there a long time.
My man. Because I say this, I've been saying this for a while now, and I don't know. I don't mean to sound like contentious with our distributor relationships, and I don't want to be
But you're gonna.
a total asshole, but I'm gonna. But Fred you made a comment, and I think you're right that, you know, these distributors are our biggest clients, right? They're buying the most beer from us. In our case, they're the only people who are buying the beer from us, except for the folks who come into our tap room. And I get that. They are our customers. And this is maybe part of me kind of externalizing my own internal struggle.
Let it out, man. Let it out.
Same space, right?
We're here for you, Gavin. We're here.
But, you know, they're our biggest customers, but are we not kind of in a situation where we're each other's customers? Because we as suppliers also have an opportunity and the right to go around in any given market and say, okay, I can look at this distributor, this distributor, this distributor. I can look at the Coors House, the Bud House, and maybe the independent craft house, and let you guys kind of compete for my business. And in that sense, you know, I'm their customer and they're my customer. It doesn't seem to me to be as black and white of a relationship as it is a really weird kind of maybe dark gray.
Here's what I tell you on that. I spoke at the New York Beer Wholesalers 2 years ago, and I said to them, you know, guys, the mistake you guys make with us is that you don't understand that we're buying a service.
Right.
And that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yes,
we
exactly.
are their customer too. We are buying their service. We're buying the service of their warehousing, selling,
Trucks.
delivering, merchandising our product. Okay.
Right.
I don't think distributors have gotten to that point yet. I think they're moving in that direction. It's totally fair to remind them, but what I would tell you is things are evolving and changing today. The best thing you can do is go into the distributor and say, be very specific. I need you to do this and this. And I will tell you, I think that you will have more success with that. They understand that they've got to keep you happy.
Yeah.
The problem is when you go in and say, you know, what do you want us to do? Or what's the plan?
We don't.
They got 90 suppliers, 120 suppliers, and they're further away from the business of the market today. They're becoming more operational.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're all following the Reyes model, which I get. But so the question is, how do you work in that scenario and so that you're partnering and working with them? And
Right.
again, The other thing I'd say, and this is a thing that I learned really early, because I used to get so pissed off, because, you know, you go into a Wegmans or whatever, and, you know, you think the distributor's fucking me. I mean, that fucker fucked me today. And I can tell you, when that box goes out their door, it's a brown box.
Yeah.
They don't care what the label is on it. It is a brown box. So when you're really pissed, start looking around at the other brands that they carry. And what you'll find in that Wegmans or that on-premise account is generally it's a sales issue. That salesperson in that account sucks. And one of the things I used to do is that I used to take the owner with me. You know, distributors were smaller then, and I used to go out every single month. I'd go out with 6 or 7 wholesalers. We'd go and see 4 or 5 accounts, and we'd go and have lunch. And the one that was pissed by the time we got to lunch was the distributor owner. Because it wasn't, you know, Coors looked like shit, Labatt's looked like shit, I look like shit, but they all look like shit. And the trick was getting them to bring up the quality of the salesperson, that person making the count, because all boats rose in that situation.
Yeah.
And the one thing a distributor loves most is a brewery that has someone that hustles and makes their life easier.
Yeah,
There
but
are
we're
two
gonna.
things. What brand sells the fastest? Like you already said, the hot brand, right? That's their favorite. But what rep is out in the market hustling, getting us draft lines, getting all that done? And you can, there's a term, it's called multiplying yourself. And if you're out in the market and you're getting business and handing it to them, you're likely going to have favor, yes.
But we have IRI data, we track it, we do everything possible.
Pay
Right,
salespeople.
we have salespeople in every one of our market, right?
Yeah.
And we go into the shelf and it's there and there's the SKU there and nothing on the shelf. We take the salespeople to take delivery. We can't even get them to deliver it today. They're so shorthanded on people. So you could take the orders and they're not even putting it on the shelf for you. It is
I
getting
don't know how
frustrating.
To answer that one because
It's getting frustrating.
No one seems to know.
No one's,
They're
it's
in
getting
the
frustrating.
stores every day. I don't.
And I think it falls back to what you're saying
So
about
wait,
the
you're selling
salespeople,
beer
the
too
quality of the
fast, so you're out all the
salespeople.
time?
Is
What's
that
that?
a big brand
It's not
distributor?
everywhere, but I'm saying, I think it's the quality of the salespeople in the market. It's the pockets.
Or quality merchandisers.
Yeah, I listen.
I mean,
I don't
I
know
would
how to
agree
help.
with that. I mean, if you're with a Bud or Miller Coors distributor, I would be drawing it to attention. If it's a littler distributor that isn't there as frequently, then that's gonna happen. I mean, if they're going in every other week and there was beer on the shelf when they were there the last time and now it isn't,
Right.
that's what happens.
Unfortunately, the retailers have a thing called overhead too, and they're only going to buy so much product that typically, if you're talking about IRI and sales data, like a Price Dropper says, like Price Dropper actually dictates how much beer you're allowed to sell into the store, right? They say, oh, we only sell 1.5 units a week of this, so we only need a case this week. Like the beer distributor's not even allowed to put in an order. So I don't know what stores we're talking about specifically, but that's an example.
And that's gonna get worse because Walmart says,
Yeah.
I don't need inventory in the back room and I don't need inventory on the floor. So, and that's gonna start rocking as these guys' systems get better and better. They're not gonna be the distributor's warehouse for all the beer it's gonna be delivered, it's gonna be on shelf, clean stores, the whole bit.
Do you document it though? When you're in the store and you notice it's out of stock, do you document it and send an email?
We do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
That's the best thing you
it's
can
a
do.
it's a
and
it's a karma report. It's a
just-
VIP report.
Yeah, and just
Right.
keep that rolling because I mean they want to sell the beer. They're not, unless it's some deep conspiracy theory that I know everyone's all into nowadays.
I think
but-
we as a brewery struggle with not being adversarial in our distributor relationships. To be honest with you.
There's other questions.
Hi. So, I know earlier you brought up why is there this contention and to treat your distributor as your best customer, and I want to acknowledge that might not always be the case if you have a distributor that's bringing you to a market farther away from your home. Like you may have a home distributor that buys more product from you or
Yep.
is selling it to bars and restaurants locally.
Yep.
But to treat them well and make them want to sell your beer, what are some things that you think that that smaller brands can do to assist with that outside of just having somebody that's doing that work, right? That's laying it up for them. what are some things as far as like incentives or ways, yeah, there's ways to incentivize.
Kids sit like this for 20 minutes.
They're owned by,
And all kids just
and
relax.
it's like, they're obviously getting payouts and incentives on it. But like, kind of again, they have to hit those numbers for the.
Yeah,
Macros.
that's a, that's a,
You don't have that money, so what's another good way to?
So here's what I'll answer this one. I believe in the Lord helps those who help themselves. And the distributor in that situation is the Lord, and you gotta go help yourself. So identify key accounts you wanna be in, find out who that sales rep within the distributor, and go make those calls with the distributor. That rep, don't do a ride with all day, cause it's a waste.
it's a waste.
Pick the accounts you wanna go with, preferably go with the supervisor.
Yeah.
And so you go to those accounts and you establish a relationship with that distributor. And hopefully you can get a stack or you can get a tap line. And if it sells well, then go back
We got you.
and you're gonna get it.
You just said something that resonates with me, and I think I've brought it up in the past, but that word relationship is probably the most underused term that we use when it comes to sales. What is your relationship? Sales is all about relationships. Who do you buy stuff from? You have a relationship with that person. The better your relationship, the more shit you're gonna sell. You know, the more respect that they have for you because of your hustle, your brand, or whatever it is, that's gonna carry probably more weight. Yeah, frankly, you can have a shit beer, but if you have a good relationship and they like you, they're gonna wanna sell that for you.
So I was wondering if you could like look at a little bigger picture when it comes to shopping around for distributors. If you would be able to offer the context of your distribution footprint and the distributors you work with, and then kind of speak to your experience dealing with different distributors, the local distributor, and then ones that might be further
Yep.
further out.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily have to be other states or whatever, but
Sure.
plenty of distributors, New York City has its own fucking ecosystem. Your experience working with ones in your local environment, and then outside of it, maybe your advice for people shopping locally and then expanding locally.
My biggest piece of advice, and the mistake I see so many breweries make, is they do not do due diligence. They get somebody that calls them up, hey, I'm from XYZ distributor, and we're really interested in your brand. You go, fuck yeah, man, let's send product up tomorrow. And you haven't gone to the market and interviewed any retailers and said, what do you think about XYZ distributor? They're fucking terrible, and we'll never buy beer from them, but you've already signed on the dotted line and your beer's going there. Go to the market. If you're thinking about selling your beer, if you're in Buffalo and you want to go to Rochester or Syracuse, go to the market, talk to the retailers. Hey, I'm from such and such brewery, you interested in my beer? Maybe they say yes, maybe they say no. What is your preferred distributor? Do some fucking homework. Do some homework. That's the biggest thing. It doesn't matter what market it is. Even pick up the phone. It's 2023. You can get on a Zoom, you can call people like, hey, I'm from this brewery in upstate New York and I'm thinking about sending some beer out. What do you think? Who would you like us to work with? Who do you recommend we work with? Do some due diligence.
And just to build on that, so the next thing is, one, interview all the distributors, and then understand, do they really want you? Because here's what I'm gonna tell you, if you gotta sell the distributor, and, you know, give them your pitch, but if you then gotta call them and say, do you want me? Write them off. What you really wanna do is create enough energy when you interview the two distributors in the market, which is basically what we're down to. You go to the two distributors, most situations, you'll come out of both distributors and say, those guys are really good guys, I could work with those guys.
Yeah.
They're salespeople. But make sure, go back to that one pager of what are you gonna do for me, and put a plan together of how we together do this. And if they say, I'm in, and the other guy says I'm not, and you like them, go with it.
Before we go over here, I want to finish up what you said about incentivizing people. Bring them to the brewery.
Yeah.
You know what salespeople love? They love going to a brewery. They love the story. They love. Yeah. No. Bring the sales team out. Like, get them in your brewery. Make them absorb it. Let them see what you're all about. First, this guy, then Bruce.
Bring customers, have them bring 3, 4, 5 customers.
Speaking of due diligence,
So
Yeah.
one of the things that popped up over COVID were these, and I don't know if they're retail or distributors, but these companies that essentially pool beer and ship them out all over the place.
Yep.
Where do they fall? Are they distributors? Are they a secondhand retail?
I have no idea. I don't know. It's a myth. Like Tavor, you're talking about and all this stuff. Yeah, they constantly sending emails. I don't know. I don't like
They
it.
are distributors.
Yeah, I don't like it.
And that's where.
It's just me. I don't like it. I don't know. I feel uncomfortable with it.
But here was the thing, during
That's all.
COVID, that's still a very specific need for me.
Yeah.
I wanted beer from all over the place, and so,
Yep.
but it was something that I've never been able to find anyone who actually.
They have all the legal rights to whatever. There's no real distribution agreement. You're just selling them beer like you would a retailer, and then they get to ship it out. And they work on a specific margin. And that margin's up to you. That's what I do understand about it. I'm just uncomfortable with it, and I'm a grumpy old man now. I turned 50. I stretch and I kick, and I'm 50. It's a Saturday Night Live skit.
Wait till
Bruce.
55.
On margins for small breweries who are
Thank you.
canning on demand,
Yep.
mobile canning, who want to go into distribution, and you don't have any data.
I don't have any data. What I can tell you is the distributor doesn't care about
I know
that.
that's why
Yeah.
I think that's a relative.
They want to know what you want to, what do you want to sell your case for, and this is my price point so that I can sell your case for that. They don't care about your packaging woes. They just, I'm sorry
That's
that,
a relevant thing for probably a lot of brewers here.
yes,
We're gonna get canning in, we're gonna
Yes.
sell all this beer to Wegmans.
Yep.
And you'll make.
and now you're making $2 right, yes. And unfortunately, should I say they don't care? Maybe they do, maybe they're willing to work with you a little bit, but at the end of the day, no, they've got to, you know, every distributor is a little different. The bigger the distributor is, and let's talk about that. The boutique small distributor is going away. It's global, and I love my Sheehan family partners, but you've got the Reyes Group, and you've got Ale George that's gobbling up distributors all around New York State. So your network is getting wider but smaller. And at the end of the day, you have a corporate entity that you have to answer to, and that corporate entity says, we're making 30% or 32% or whatever it is on that package, regardless of how much it costs you.
Even without distribution, if you're going directly to Wegmans, which they allow.
Yes.
Cases,
Yeah.
your margin is still.
You're still giving it up, yeah. So, just real quickly, and I'll get to this question over here. It's an interesting thing for us, right? To kind of like give you an idea of how much this distribution thing can hurt. In January, I was looking at some numbers and I was like, holy shit, our North Street location is down $9,000 this past month. And then I did the math on how much beer the Wegmans in Auburn did in one other little bottle shop, and I was like, there's all $9,000 that I used to get out of my tap room because everyone in Auburn was buying beer. They're like, I can get my steak and my 5-for-1 and my Mass Riot all in one stop, and I don't have to go to Schulz's stupid place and get in trouble when I get home because I've been gone for an hour longer than I said I was gone. So it stung. But that is just the, necessary evil that we needed to take. It hurt, but at the end of the day, I also have, more money coming into the brewery, especially in a slow season that we didn't have. So, it's all about what is right for you. I'm going to go over to Willow Rock and then back over here. Oh, I forgot about you. You're last. You've asked a lot of questions.
I just wanted to make a comment because I've been asked much times by other smaller breweries in our area, and it's when they come to ask me about distribution, who's better, and I'm like, it doesn't matter who's better to you or who's better to like me in terms of the local distribution. It matters of who you're going to be interacting with at the head of command, who's buying from you.
Right.
Because if you can't sell that guy a beer or that girl a beer, they're not going to sell it for you on the other side.
Yeah.
So whether or not there's a better distributor versus a worse distributor in the area, if you can't communicate, you can't make that connection with, hey, I have this awesome beer coming out next week. Do you guys want any of it? How do we want to package it for you so you can take it?
you can't communicate that to them and they don't wanna buy it, like, research and have that conversation, and that's a very important
Yeah,
conversation.
that
You
is
have to sell it to somebody.
full on preaching to me, because your distributor is what you make it, ultimately is my theme. That's what I always come down to. It's what you make it. It's what you put into it. Don't rely on them. Rely on yourself. You believed in yourself, you opened a brewery, right? You believed in your product, you believed in what you were doing, so why does that stop when you hand it off to somebody? Keep believing in it. Go out there, hustle. Hustle. My favorite thing in the world to do is go sell shit. I just happen to like selling beer. If you want me to go sell windows tomorrow, fine, I'll go sell windows, but that sounds boring. I want to sell beer, and I love selling. I don't care who I'm talking to. I'll sell beer to Fred and Matt right now if you want me to. You guys want to?
Right now, let's see it.
You want to do Wolf of Wall Street? Sell me this pen. I know. There was somebody, question?
Yeah, question in regards to what you said earlier about like, Fred, about like 1 inch deep, rather go deep and not so widespread. And following up on your point you just made, the $9,000 that you lost in that local area.
Yep.
So is there a way of like saying, I do everything but my local would say because I can?
Yeah, you could do that.
If
Yeah,
there's demand.
1000% could do that. Yeah, I could have done that. I'm lazy. I'm tired.
All right.
Right? Yeah.
So-
Listen, there are 1,000 examples of local breweries that are massive in their home market. Middle Ages, let's just keep going. Every brewery in their respective market, C.H. Evans, Browns, tell me when you want me to stop.
So you mentioned, it's been brought up a number of times, comparing Wegmans. Do either of you know the position of Wegmans in the future of craft at Wegmans? There's a repositioning going on. Can you give us a dose of reality of what's happening at Wegmans right now?
So I just had dinner with them on Monday. They're killing craft.
You're more important than me. You're having dinner with Danny? Did you ride the Ferrari? What? Did you? Shit.
So what I would say is that they're totally committed. Craft beer is like 40% of their volume. The thing that they're really focused on is how do we as an industry help them blow more energy back into craft. That's what they would like to see. What I would say is that they.
New York State craft.
Yes.
Yes.
In fact, huh?
That's key.
Yeah, I think they can do a better job with New York State craft. But David, I was in Ithaca last week, and they had Salt City stacks on the floor, Liquid State. I don't know if those guys are in the room, but they're more flexible than they ever have been before. Frankly, I'm a little pissed off because I probably could have been self-distributing to Wegmans, but I was being reluctant and lazy. Yeah. But Chris knows. Chris is in the stores, and Naked Dove is selling beer all throughout Rochester. They have been for better part of almost. Yeah, so a lot of years, and they're doing it on their own. So Wegmans is more nimble than they ever have been. What's that? Oh, hi, Dave. Dave had nothing to do with that. It's all Chris Schulz, everybody.
Well, it is.
The other Schultz in the room.
Absolutely. I'm too lazy like you. I'm even older
Yes,
than
we're
you.
old and lazy.
But
That's
we're
what we
both
do.
in the room
Yes.
for a reason.
But yeah, Wegmans is more nimble than they ever have been before. They're more receptive. But again, it's still very local. I don't think you're going to see Naked Dove in Ithaca or Salt City in Rochester. Or, you know what I mean? So they're invested, but to a point.
I don't think they are.
They don't have a private
Well, they
label
do
beer.
partner-
Yeah.
They do partner
brands.
They do
Yeah.
partner brands.
Wait
And
till Whole
they
Foods opens.
prefer to do.
This poor guy's still
New
waiting.
York.
10-minute warning.
Two-part question, one for each of you. If you could go back in time and you switched from self-distro to
Yep.
signing with a distributor,
Yep.
what piece of advice would you give yourself? And for Fred, when are beer balls coming back? Whatever word you want.
I'll answer that question the second Fred brings back beer balls.
So beer balls are a really interesting thing. So I was in high school, And, well, let's go, when I was in college, my summer job was doing beer balls. That was 81, and I'd come home, we'd bring home a beer ball. And we would, 6 or 7 of us would drink a beer ball before we left. That was 55 glasses of beer. Before we left the house, I'd take my father's keys. My father would say, "Don't you guys want a 12-pack of beer for the road?" I've already had 5 or 6 beers each. We get in the car, we have a 12-pack of beer, and then we go out and we get beers, martinis, pitchers of martinis and pitchers of beers. And we're still driving. So,
The 80s were fucking awesome. Fucking just pictures of martinis, beer balls, cocaine, doesn't matter.
But I will tell you, here's the problem. In those days, you know, any place you went, it was one brand of beer. If you have a party today, who has a party that doesn't have craft beer, seltzers, etc.? And so,
Just I mean.
yeah, people aren't going to buy one beer for a party anymore. I mean, how many keggers do you go to? So the beer ball, 1, the cost went through the roof. 2, there's not a market for it today. But it's the number one question we get, and if we put it on Facebook or Instagram or
It would
TikTok.
explode. Explode. Your brewery would be, you guys would make it to 2081.
I'd be buying Budweiser.
Yes. You'd be buying Budweiser. To answer the first part of your question is, I wouldn't have done a damn thing different.
So then, what piece of advice?
I played it well. I've been in the game a long time, right? And I listened to the words of a very wise man that happens to be sitting to my left. And he would say that if you're going to do it, self-distribute as long as you can, and when you're ready to hand it off, make sure you get paid. And I have an NDA, but I can just tell you that it was a very healthy thing for our brewery. Might have saved our brewery, to be honest with you.
You're about 5 minutes. Do you have any advice for those of us who are a little skeptical of signing with a distributor?
Yeah, don't.
Like
Don't.
someone
Don't.
that
Yeah,
has
already
a ton of-
answer the question. Don't. Take your time. What's the rush?
When you hit that point, you have critical mass where you need to sign with something in order to.
All right, well, that's a different conversation, yeah.
And you are skeptical of signing with the distributor who is signing everywhere.
Don't. Find somebody else, or just keep doing it yourself. There's another thing, too, that a few of us have talked about, and I think I brought it up earlier. Talk to some of your other brewery partners. You're in this room. We're here for another day and a half. Talk to them. Maybe you want to sync up. Hey, you want to go in on a salesperson? Maybe we all divvy it up. Maybe we each kick in 15, 20 grand and hire this person, and they go out, and you hit them with sales goals, and that's their job. And the same thing with the delivery vessel. It's New York State, man. Brewers Association is awesome. We can do just about anything we want. Seriously, you can do it. You can ship beer all throughout the state. If you want to register in other states, you can ship there too. You can self-distribute. You can do whatever you want. What's right for you? That's what you should do. And when you hit that place, shut up, Fred.
I was going to say something good too.
Yeah, do what's right for you. Is right? What is that?
Yeah.
Our thing? Isn't that the name of our thing?
Yeah.
Do what's right for you.
But the other thing I do, I urge everybody, everybody in this room has gone through something. Use the resources you have in the room.
Yeah.
I mean, people call me all the time. People used to call my dad all the time. I mean, this community of beer is awesome.
Yeah.
And I would tell you, you can call up Sierra Nevada, you can call up anybody, and more times than not, they'll talk to you.
Yep.
And it's a very sharing, giving, there's no, we're all competitors, but we're all friends. And use the resources you have and just call and ask advice.
It's nothing like stepping on your friend's throat as you cross the finish line.
I just want to think as far as like writing distribution contracts and things like that. I think that a lot of people sign on to a distribution company, seeing how many salespeople they have, seeing how many accounts they have, things like that. I'm speaking of past experience with managing a brewery. Right?
Yep.
So going with a distribution company where we're like, holy shit, they have 52 salespeople. We have one salesperson, one delivery guy. And lost the salesperson, and are like, oh, well, they're 52, we're obviously going to make up for it. And distribution sales dropped.
Yep.
It always
So,
happens.
so just to have people look at a distribution company as simply like the logistics of it, but then in writing these agreements, do you think that it can be practical for people to kind of build in a component of like, so something that I would like to offer as a distributor, and I don't know if it's reasonable for you to do it or not, is I would like to offer something where I say like, hey, I can't really grow your sales, but if you have a mailing list and you have people in my territory that you think are interested in buying your product and you just don't have the bandwidth to get it there, I'd happily take a lower percentage and move your product for you. But don't expect me to
I'm listening.
Yeah. So to me, here's what I tell you. I think there's a service model out there that people ought to be looking at, and there are some distributors that'll do it.
Yeah,
It's a level of service.
this is
So,
percentage
so if
for
they
sales
just,
and
yeah,
moving it,
yeah,
this is
so you
percentage for
know, so to me, if I wanted just trucking and delivery and you merchandise for me,
Yeah.
charge me 20% and that's a deal. And I'll take the other 10 and I'll go sell.
Don't rush me,
I-
Paul.
I
There's
think you
nothing
def-
going on after this.
I think,
Keep talking all day if we
I
want.
think,
So the people at the reception upstairs,
you know, without,
Chris Erickson in the back of the room.
Fred said he was in high school in 81. You mean 71?
so I gotta, so let's just ask, look at Chris and look at me, who looks better, okay?
So stop that.
Dang. Thought we were friends. Not anymore.
There's more questions.
Yeah, keep firing. Let's go.
Yeah, how old is Fred?
This is just more for anybody that ends up signing with multiple distributors in the same state. It's just kind of one of my comments, I caught one, I don't know, 2 months ago. If you have one that decides, and this is not toward Chad, who's sitting right in front of me, that does statewide distribution, make sure they stay in their area and they don't step on your other maybe bigger distributors' toes. I did find one of my pumpkin beers was seriously on tap at a local bar in February, and I was just like, I didn't even sell this to Sheehan. Where did this come from? And it didn't come from me. So be clear to your bigger distributor that it wasn't you who sold under their radar, and also go to that distributor and tell them to stay in their area where you signed on to and to not overstep their bounds, because that's going to cause a lot of trouble.
Gasco Meyer.
It was not Gasco Meyer.
Just kidding.
Oh my God.
Just kidding.
Oh, boy.
Lots of fights over a beat of Purple Haze back in the day.
Keep an eye on what's going on.
Yes.
That means you're going to your own accounts. That means you're keeping an eye on things, because
Well, listen, this could be a whole fucking day for me talking about this shit, but, you know, what are your sales reporting systems? What is the distributor sales reporting? Are they giving you those reports so you know where you're selling your beer and how often and what they're buying? And more importantly, are you willing to invest in that? Because I'm about to pull the trigger on VIP, and I only have one distributor, but I want to know. Because I like information. I like going, the fuck you did. I like having information at my fingertips, and I'm willing to pay for it. Yes, sir, in the back. That's probably going to disagree with everything I just said.
No, I'm actually agreeing with you 100%. If you're going to sign on with a distributor, be prepared to invest in VIP.
Yes.
Because it's a really powerful tool. It provides you a ton of insight, and if you like to nerd out, like,
I love nerding out.
Yeah, get ready,
and
baby.
If you have a good partner, they'll give you the information, but why
Well,
wait?
the deal is with that much data at your fingertips, don't just trust your distributor to give you those VIP reports, because you can spin that data to suit the narrative that you're trying to tell.
Agreed.
And that will work for the distributor, but if you sign on with VIP, you can kind of play in their game.
You're the king of the castle, man.
You
You're
can
flying the
spin that
dragon.
narrative just like they can.
You're the house of the dragon. What?
This is a serious question. Like, for those people, like you said, Fred told you, Schulz, like, self-distribute and then sell.
Yes.
For those people who are self-distributing now and are thinking about signing with a distributor, is there a ballpark multiplier, or is there a factor that is kind of an industry standard right now?
I'd
That
say
what you could
minimum
expect for your
5
brand,
and
or is it
minimum
literally a
5
case
and
by
high
case
7.
thing?
Fred, say it, just,
Minimum 5, high 7.
does everyone hear that in the back? Minimum 5, high 7, so your multiplier is minimum 5, high 7. 7 times what you would sell.
What the distributor
for.
gross profit is. So if they make $10 a case, it's $50 a case or $70 a
Yes.
case.
But it's all arbitrary, right? Because it depends on the strength of your brand. It depends on how much beer you're selling. You can't just walk in and be like, I sold 3,000 cases this year and ask for, $150,000. That's not how it's going to work. It depends on how much is your brand pulling? Do people really want it? You already said it. Distributor's favorite brand is the hottest one. And you got a hot brand, you got a good story. If you have a mediocre selling brand, it's not a shot, it's just the reality of what we do. Are you going to be able to put in more hustle and convince them to pay you for that?
On a similar point, any advice on how to get out of a contract that's not working for you? I've heard of companies getting out without buyout.
Yeah.
I've heard of some being held hostage with a huge buyout.
I guess it depends, to be honest. Some of that, obviously we have our carve out, right? And if somebody else is interested in your brand, they could, it's the, kind of the elephant in the room, you can pay for it. But, I can say, in my experience, there were things that just weren't working and we just said, we're done. And I think that that's been the biggest game changer over the last 10 years is that distributors are willing to just say, you know what, this isn't working. Let's just go our separate ways. It doesn't apply to every situation. They still need to protect themselves, and I will defend that because they've invested, they've paid. But if the relationship isn't working and you have a good relationship with that distributor and you say, this isn't working, could we just clean divorce? No one gets the house, no one gets the dog. We
And
just
if they say you're
all
worthless,
walk away.
you might want to change your model a bit.
Right. I want the goddamn dog. Yes.
Contract length for distributor. Year?
What's that?
Like, what's a typical or average contract length? Like a year?
Your full life.
Yeah.
No, I'm not making that for a joke. It's forever, ever. Seen Sandlot? Forever. Ever. Yeah, I mean, you can put some language in there, but they're not likely to sign it.
So it's not like a yearly contract.
Yeah, and listen, you want a distributor that's in the game for the fucking full haul, man. That's what I want. I don't want there to be a 5-year carve out. Fuck that. What do you mean? You're gonna divorce me in 5 years? Like you already? Yeah, I don't want to do
You
this.
don't want a campaign?
Forever.
Are you guys good?
I don't know.
Any last questions, real quick, before we wrap up? Yes.
One more question from Lord Dirks in the back. Woo! Beer balls.
You mentioned the carve out for like a cancellation for cause.
Yes.
Can you just describe that?
Say that again. I wasn't
Cancellation for
listening.
cause.
I'm sorry.
Cancellation for cause.
The cause, the sort of cancellation.
Oh, the cancellation for cause. Yeah, you get into a distribute. You want to do that one?
Yeah, so I mean, cancellation for cause, basically, you gotta go in, you gotta give them the reasons that you're canceling. They have 90 days to cure it, and after that 90 days, if they haven't cured it, then you can take action. Here's what I tell you. These things, when you have a trademark issue, you got a distributor issue, pick up the fucking phone and just talk. I mean, you can figure out, most of the stuff is communications, and again, seek to understand. Just don't hire up on lawyers. I never get a lawyer involved, even if it's DEC or any of that shit. Pick up the phone and talk to the person. It is the most effective way you can do business. Pick up the phone.
All right, thanks everybody. All right, hey, there's a reception upstairs from 5:30 to 7. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Mark.
Well done. Look at us.